Hey guys, Sonny Bryson here, and today I want to talk about exactly what do you do if you're in your 50s or 60s and retirement is right around the corner, but you don't have enough money to retire, or maybe, just maybe, you don't have a single dime for retirement, okay? How do you actually get the money? By the way, by the end of this video, I give you a step-by-step plan to make sure when you actually retire, if you're in your 50s right now, you can actually retire with at least a minimum of $400,000 and above, okay? So you do have enough time. Do not worry about it. I'm gonna break everything down in this video right here. Now, the first thing is this, guys. If you're new here, I post videos every single day, so make sure to also subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified. On top of that, also destroy the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Thank you guys so much. Now, the first thing is this. When it comes to retirement, there are three main problems that people basically face, and they don't know exactly what to do. The first one is basically income. The big problem is that basically with your income you have right now, once retirement starts, you don't have that income anymore. And then the same problem is basically your expenses. Yeah, you have expenses now, you can cover with your income, but once you don't have that income, your expenses become very, very high. And with your Social Security and also maybe your 401k, it still might not be enough money to actually cover all of your expenses. And the last one is basically debt. If you owe a ton of money, well, all that money stays there if you still owe it after, during, or before retirement. As long as you owe it, you will get a bill sent to the mail every single month, okay? So what exactly can you do to solve each and every single one of these problems? Well, the first thing we need to do is basically be very, very honest about every single one of these problems, okay? Problem number one, okay, when it comes to income, there is a very simple way to get more money. You ask for a raise, or for example, you actually go out there and you change jobs and careers and get paid more money. But in reality, if you're in your 50s right now, most likely you might not want to go back to school, or maybe go back out there in the job market and get a brand new job, okay? But you can always ask for a raise, and you should always ask for a raise. But let's be honest, most of you watching this video right now will probably not most likely want to go out there and change your careers you've been doing for a very long time. But if you're willing to do that, you can easily earn a lot more money than you earn right now. So problem A, all depends on basically, do you want to get a new job, or are you fine with the job you currently have right now? And by the way, it does not matter how much money you make. It only matters how much money you keep. Because in reality, you have people that make a ton of money but are still poor because basically they spend every single dollar. If you make $4,000 every single month but only spend $3,000, to me, you're rich. But if you make, for example, $1 million every single year but spend $1.2 million, you're poor because basically you spend more money than you actually make, and you're one paycheck away from being homeless, okay? So I'm just being honest here. How much you make does not matter. Only matters how much you actually keep. Now, problem two is basically your expenses. To understand this, we need to define it. When it comes to expenses, you have fixed expenses and also variable expenses, okay? The difference is that basically variable expenses tend to go up and might go down, but fixed ones stay the same. For example, if all you do is rent, well, that tends to actually stay the same, but slowly it goes up. But I do consider it a fixed expense. Your insurance tends to be more variable because as you get older, usually you'll pay more money. But the point is, you have fixed ones to stay the same and also variable ones. But the entire idea is this: what you want to be doing to your expenses is not spend more money than you actually make. So again, same example here. If you make every single month $4,000, you want to make sure you're not spending more than 70% of your income, and that way you have extra money, 30%, to actually go out there and actually invest. Now tell me, how is that possible if basically right now I spend a lot more money than I actually make, and I'm actually living right now paycheck to paycheck? Well, the only way to get around this is to be honest with yourself and ask yourself, are you willing to make sacrifices to be the person you actually want to be tomorrow, and to be able to retire tomorrow without worrying about like, hey, I don't have any money, I might have to go live with my kids or whatever it is, okay? So the entire idea is this: you have to start cutting everything you don't need to basically live. You know, going out? No. Bowling? No. You know, a lot of things, for example, fancy cable? No. A lot of things have to go out the window so you can basically save all that extra money for your investments, which I will talk about later in this video. But the idea is this: no matter how much money you make right now per month, either 1,000 or 10,000 or 10 million, the idea is I want you to only be spending 70% of your income, and that's about it. If you spend less, great. If you spend more, cut back down. That might mean, for example, you have to move out to a cheaper area. Not if you have a mortgage, that's different. Or for example, you might have to cut a few bills, subscriptions that you actually don't need, like a magazine, newspaper, cable. All that stuff can go right out the window. So whatever you actually make, $5,000 per month, multiplied by 0.70%, you can only spend $3,500. The other $1,500, you have to keep that for our investments, and that's exactly what we're going to do. I'm going to teach you by the end of this video. Now, the last problem is basically debt. And when it comes to debt, you have three types of people. Type 1 does not have any debt whatsoever, but never invested, and that's why you're in your 50s or 60s, you don't have any debt, but neither do you have any money for retirement, or you might not have enough money for retirement. And the whole idea here is that we need to fix exactly how much money you're investing and what you're investing into. Type 2 is people that do have debt, but the debt is important debt, okay? Debt that makes sense. For example, you bought a house. That house has a mortgage. You owe that. The idea is we have to pay down that mortgage and also make sure you're investing, and that way you get best of both worlds. Type C, people that basically just go out there and just spend, borrow, and also basically have a ton of debt, credit card debt, auto loan debt, their mortgage, a bunch of stuff, and basically right now are living paycheck to paycheck. And that's a massive problem. But here are the solutions, and here is the plan of options for all three of these problems right here. As we said before, okay, your income, you either change jobs, ask for a raise, or stay in the same job. But when it comes to expenses, you need to lower them and spend less than 70% of your money, and that way you have extra money to actually go out there and invest. There is no way to save for retirement if all the money you get, all you do is basically spend, okay? So we want to make sure you spend at least 70% of your income, but no more than that on expenses. That way you have 30% in free income. Those are the solutions for income and also expenses. But now let's go into detail about how you solve these problems when it comes to debt. Now, say for example, you're type A, and type A basically has no debt, but also has no investments either. So what exactly would I do in this case? The answer is you need to get comfortable with investing your money and actually investing a lot of it. Now, let's assume here that you are in your 50s, maybe exactly age 50. The idea is that until retirement, age 65, you still have 15 years to go. 15 years is a very long time. And in 15 years, you can buy a house and pay it off in full and save for retirement and basically have everything ready. But will it be easy? The answer is no. Obviously, catching up is never easy. It's never fun. But getting there is very, very possible and still finishing the race on time in a sense, okay? But it will take a lot more catching up and a lot more work. Now, the idea is this. I want you to take that 20 to 30% of the money you actually have aside for investing, and I want you to invest it, for example, into your Roth IRAs if you have, for example, a wife or a husband. And I also want you to actually max out the match on your 401k with your employer. If they do not match anything, they just put around 10% towards that also. But I want you to max out the Roth IRAs. And the idea is that if you do that, with the catch up, it's around like $6,500 for both of you, and that's around $13,000 every single year, plus the money you put into your 401k, whatever was left over. The idea is if you do this consistently over the next 15 years, and say for example you make $40,000 every single year, and you did this for 15 years at an 8% return, by the time those 15 years are over and retirement is right around the corner, in reality you would have around $234,000 invested right there ready for you at your disposal. A lot more than having zero or having, for example, $20,000 or so. Now, if you want more money, obviously you need to invest a lot more money. But by investing, for example, 20% of your income, which is around like $8,000 in the example, it's not that much money, but it will add up to, in 15 years, $234,000. Now, there is one thing I want to tell you. People make this mistake all the time. When they're about to retire, they still have the same investment portfolio, and that is not a good idea. As you get older, as you get closer to retirement, you want to switch your portfolio into bonds and more safe investments. That way, you don't run the risk with the market. That's the idea. Now, I highly recommend, if you don't know anything about investing or anything like that, and all you want to do is invest for your future, make sure everything's fine, I recommend you call Vanguard, open a 401k with them or a Roth IRA also, and they'll help you out with everything. But there's something that I highly recommend, and it's called a target date fund. Now, a target date fund is specifically for retirement. It's also with Vanguard. And when you go over there, it tells you, hey, when do you plan on retiring? Is it 10 years, 15 years, 30 years, 40 years, 45, 25? The answer is whenever you plan to retire, you can actually start investing into one of these target date funds. And the idea is that everything you need to do for retirement is done automatically, and all you have to do is just invest your money. For example, they rebalance it for you, invest the money for you, distribute it accordingly, and on top of that, as you get closer to retirement, they change it around to make sure it carries less risk, and they invest more into bonds. That way, once you get into retirement, they also switch it around, and that way you're more focused on actually getting income than you are on taking risks. And by doing that, what they do is basically invest into more bonds. That way you get more income, but also carry a lot less risk. That's the idea with a target date fund. So I highly recommend go ahead and call Vanguard, give them a call, ask them about the target date funds, and also open a Roth IRA with them, and they help you out with everything. Tell me why Vanguard? Vanguard has a long history, a very good reputation, and on top of that, they have one of the lowest fees in the entire financial industry. And when it comes to fees in your portfolio, you want to make sure you're saving as much as possible and you're not spending that money on fees that you basically don't need. So I highly recommend target date fund with Vanguard. Max out the Roth IRAs and also try to actually max out the 401k, whatever money is left over from that 20% you're actually putting aside. And by the way, a Roth IRA is just an account. Once you're inside the account, you have to pick the investments. I highly recommend the investment you pick is called a target date fund. To invest into that fund, you need at least $1,000. To save that much money up, by saving up 20-30% in like around 2-3 months, you'll have that money to go ahead and invest. So do not get frustrated if you don't have all that money right now. And by the way, in 15 years, okay, you can buy a house for 200k, put down 20%, that's 40k, and basically in 15 years by retirement, you have a house that's worth 200k, most likely even more in 15 years, okay? So basically, a lot can happen in 15 years. You own your own house, no more mortgage, and you also have a lot of money for retirement. And by the way, if you want to basically take money from your retirement, you can either do it from an income portfolio with Vanguard into more like bonds, or for example, you can use a 4% rule where you basically take 4% but keep your portfolio actually growing, and that way you don't run out of money for at least a minimum of 30 years, okay? That way you're good to go. With Social Security, your investments, and basically low expenses, that way you'll be 100% safe when it comes to retirement if you are type A and you don't have a lot of debt right now, okay? Now, for type 2, say for example right now all you have is important debt, for example a mortgage, or you might even have some student loan debt. So what exactly is the plan for this right here? I'm not going to tell you, well, pay off your student loan right now or pay off your debts right now, your mortgage. The answer is no, okay? That's going to be very risky, and here's why. Because the idea is most likely right now, if you're in your 50s, you probably only have maybe 5 years in student loan debt actually left, and maybe 5 to 7 years on your entire mortgage left also. So the idea is I want you to invest 15 to 20% into your entire retirement funds, your 401k and your Roth IRAs, into your target date funds. And on top of that, I want you to take any extra money left that you're not spending and put it towards those debts. That way you finish a lot faster, and by the time you retire, you already have a paid off house and you also have no loans, which is actually pretty cool. That way you're debt free, you have more income than you actually need, and that way, by the way, my whole thing is this, okay? As long as you have more money coming in than you have going out, to me, you're wealthy, because that means you have a lot more money than you have going out. So you don't even need $1 million. As long as you make 30K, but only spend 27K or 20K, the answer is you're good. You're good, you're good, you're good. That is the goal for retirement. Now, if you are type 3 or type C here, and that's the worst type, but most likely the most common one. And that's basically saying that you have, for example, right now, an auto loan, you have a mortgage, you have student loan debt, you have credit card debt, you have loans, personal loans that you actually took. The answer is you have a lot of debt and you're highly leveraged. On top of that, you have no money for retirement. So what exactly do you do here? Are you lost? Is it done for you? Is it over? You lost the game? In reality, no. If you're in your 50s and you still have some time, you'll be good to go. And by the way, if you're not in your 50s or you're in your 60s, the idea is you're probably gonna have to work a little bit longer, but if you follow these rules, you can still go ahead and retire and live a normal life, okay? So don't tell me, I'm too close to retirement. You might have to work longer. I understand that it sucks, but at least you can still get to your goal, okay? So there are no excuses here whatsoever. And the idea is, what I want you to do is basically set aside the student loan debt and also mortgage. That's different, okay? But I want you to take all the very high interest that you actually have, and I want you to basically pay the minimums on all of them and pay more money towards the debt with basically the highest APR or the highest interest. For example, I have 3 credit cards and they all have, for example, the same balance or maybe a lot higher, whatever it is. The answer is pay the minimum on all of them and pay more money towards the one with the highest APR, and that way you get to save more money when it comes to the math of how interest actually works. But tell me, what about investing for retirement? The answer is because you have so much debt and it's also high interest, by investing, you're really like not doing anything. It's kind of like running like on a treadmill and trying to lose weight while eating a cake, because basically that's what interest is. You're paying interest, but you're investing. It eats up all the interest. Basically, you're not doing anything, okay? That's the idea. So what you want to do here is, while you're actually paying off all this debt, only do the entire match when it comes to your contributions on your 401k. If they don't have a match your employer, that's fine. Just invest around 10% towards your Roth IRA or your 401k, whichever one you actually want to do, okay? And whichever one brings you the more benefits. Now, that's the core idea here. Person A, focus on investing. Person B, focus on investing, but also paying that debt faster. And then person C, you have to invest a little bit of money, yes, but you're basically getting rid of all that debt so you can clear it out and then have a lot of money to go ahead and start investing. And by the way, usually, the people that have the most debt usually have the highest income. So it's a blessing. Once you're done with all that stuff, you have a lot more income at your disposal and you can go ahead and start investing. Once you go from being a person C, just go to being a person B and follow the instructions from there. That's the goal. So overall, guys, the idea for this video is, all I want you to do is, 1, spend less money than you make, 70%. Use that 30% to go ahead and invest, okay? Invest in a target date fund. Those are very helpful. Everything is automatically done for you, and that way you don't have to worry about it. And after that, basically, try to manage your debt, try to pay it off, and clear it out. That way you have a lot more extra money to actually go invest. Imagine retiring, having a bunch of debt, and you don't have even enough money to pay your normal bills, but you have all this debt. The answer is, we want to clear that out. And if you do everything I'm saying here correctly, and you call Vanguard and everything, the answer is, you might walk away from retirement with an extra $400,000 in net worth, okay? And that's exactly what you want. If you want more money, just invest more money. If you want to make more money, just get a new job. It's all simple, it's very possible, and it's very well within your realm to actually catch up. It's going to be harder, yes, but it's still possible. So go ahead and get it done. But I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching. As always, make sure to like this video. On top of that, also subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified. And also, if you want to talk to me one-on-one or text me, just subscribe to my Patreon, link down below. Or for example, just DM me on Instagram at Tommy Bryson. I'll see you guys tomorrow. But if you want to watch a video on basically how I paid off around $13,000 in debt, here's a video right here. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching. And as always, peace.